All right, here we are. It is February. I thought it was March for a second.
No, not yet.
It is the February ONREIA event of the evening. Come on in. It looks like we have a bunch of people filling in already. So welcome as you join. First of all, thank you for joining us. As you come in, get nice and comfortable in that chat group. We are wanting this to be an interactive evening because the more engaged you are, the more you're going to retain and the more interesting this night's going to be. So as you join us, if you could go into the chat, you'll see two sections down at the bottom. One is the chat, one is the Q&A. So go into the chat right now. And the first thing I want you to do is where it says to, there's a drop down, and I want you to make sure that that to says to everyone, not just the host and the panelists. Make sure it says everyone, and then just tell us where you're joining us from, okay? So Brady's there. Hello, Brady. Where are you coming to us from right now? There we go. I will get in here too. Where are we?
Cherry's on the line now too. So.
Oh, hello, Cherry. There you are. Welcome, welcome. We're all here.
Can you hear me clearly though?
We can, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, it's clear, right? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
It is. Yeah, thank you. Who do we have here? We've got Natalia from Ottawa, Gatineau. Oh, you're in the thick of things right now, aren't you? We got Luke here from Kitchener. Hey, Luke. Barry, John, excellent. Janice is here from London. Scott from Napanee. That's a hike, isn't it? Up north? No, wait, where's Napanee? Yeah.
Ottawa, I think.
Right. Let's see. Very thick. Honk, honk. That's funny. Near Kingston. Okay. Awesome. Welcome. Well, keep letting us know where you're coming in from, guys. We've got Nick from Waterford. Currently in Florida. Where are you in Florida, Nick? You're in good company here.
There's a lot of people in the same boat coming down here.
Yes, this is a fitting topic, I think, that Brady's going to be.
Well, you're close to Brady.
Yeah, that's right. St. Pete's is beautiful out here.
It's okay if you like sun and sand and surf and no masks.
Those kind of things.
Freedom.
Yeah, freedom.
Yeah. So curious, as we have people coming in, have you considered maybe buying a vacation property or potentially moving out of Canada? If that sounds like you, put a 1, or you can just say, yes, we're considering it. Oh yeah, we've got someone already. John, we're moving down in May. Luke is considering it. I think there are quite a number of people who are looking at their options right now, which is always a good thing. We've got one with exclamation marks. I totally hear you, Donna. Yeah, lots of people. So you're in the right group. You're in the right room tonight. We're going to learn some amazing things from Brady and from Cherry. Question, who here has been audited? If you've been audited, put a 2 in the chat. And if you're nervous about getting audited, put a 3 in the chat. Yeah, it's it's one of those things where it could happen, so you better be prepared. Let's see here. Close that down. Do you have your ringer on?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna give it a few more minutes. The room's still filling up here. And it's only 7:01, so we'll give it a few extra minutes. Shawn, why don't you, as people are coming in, what are you working on right now? Why don't you tell people?
Okay, well,
to put you on the spot.
Yeah, sure. Well, we're still we're still finishing up our big Great Wolf Lodge cottage that we were doing up in Huntsville. Massive project. I'm not sure if you guys have seen any of that on what we've done on social media, but great big 10,000 square foot log cabin cottage that we completely renovated. So it's going to be done here shortly, probably in the next month, and then up for sale. So
And the funny thing is, we bought it. It's pretty much a year ago now, right?
Yeah, while we were in Costa Rica.
While we
yeah.
were in Costa Rica a year ago, we purchased this sight unseen. And Shawn didn't actually see it until I think May, when we got started on the project and he got back to Canada. So it's been a bit of a ride.
It has, but it's good. It's such a cool building. It's gonna be so nice to show everybody the finishing product.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
We should tell everyone that, so when you were at the bottom there and you switched over to everyone in that panel in the chat box, when we're going through and Brady's going to go through and Cherry's going to go through the presentations, if you have questions as they're speaking, please put them in the question box, not in the chat box. We want to separate them so that we can make sure that the questions actually get answered after, if not during the presentation, afterwards when we do the Q&A. So just make sure that you're separating your questions in the question box and not in the chat box.
Thank you for remembering to say that. I usually forget until I see questions going into the chat box, like, oh, I should have told them not to put it there. Actually, one more thing about the chat box. So we've got, it looks like people are still filtering in. We've got 50 people or so on right now. If you want to go through, and I say this every month because we've sort of lost that in-person connection piece that we used to have at our ONREIA events, but now that it's virtual, it's online, it's tougher. But if you haven't done this yet, just scroll through the chat and pick out a few names. Take a look, maybe here's Natalia. I know that you're in Ottawa. If someone else is in the Ottawa area and you're thinking you might want to connect, like write that name down and see if you can find them on social media. All right, go on Instagram or Facebook. There's lots of real estate groups. If you're here, I'm assuming you're probably in some real estate groups on Facebook, and see if you can connect. Real estate investing is really a people business, right? So the more you can connect, the more you can network, the better it is. You can help them, they can help you. That's what this game is all about, right?
Yep.
And if you haven't yet put in the chat where you're joining us from, make sure you do that. So write in your name, where you're coming in from. I usually pull the stats, and I forgot to do it tonight, but I usually pull the stats to see what level of investors we have here tonight.
It's usually pretty close to the same.
It usually is every month.
Yeah.
Typically, half the group here is brand new investors. Usually a quarter are maybe intermediate and a quarter are advanced. But let's do a quick poll here. Good, we still have more people telling us where you're coming in from.
Interkip, how's the plaza looking?
Oh, yeah. Who was that, Paul? Yeah, Paul. We are building a commercial plaza in Interkip, Ontario right now. Kaleem from Cambridge, Walkerton, awesome. Marshall in Oshawa, Andrea from the KW area. Oh yeah, with lots of people coming in. Perfect. Jake, hey Jake, happy date night. Richard and Caledon. Oh, perfect. Yeah, keep putting that in. For those of you who are brand new to ONREIA, maybe you got invited here by Brady or Cherry, or you just happened to see it online. Probably should have done this first, but my name is Jenn. This is Shawn. We started ONREIA about 3 years ago, and I know it's been 3 years.
Yeah, crazy.
We did it because we wanted an opportunity to do just this, to network with people, get to know other people. We've been investing in real estate since about 2005. But where we were based out of sort of the London area, we wanted the opportunity to not just meet other people, but also learn from other investors who were doing what we wanted to do. It's great to go to these seminars and hear the gurus on stage, but we wanted to hear from people like us who were, in the field, active investors, and see what we could learn from them and share with each other our learnings. So that's what we did 3 years ago. We started ONREIA, and it was really based on 3 pillars. The first one is connecting people, which is why I really want you active in the chat group. If Brady or if Cherry's saying something that resonates, really you get it and you want to agree, like put it in the chat, get active, make notes of, who you want to connect with. The other thing with ONREIA is, of course, the education piece. So we're really thankful to have Cherry and Brady joining us tonight to share their knowledge and their experience. That being said, I always say this every month, make sure you do your own due diligence. These are people who are coming here, sharing their experiences, but of course, it's always up to you to do your own due diligence, look into things yourself. The other piece to ONREIA is not just learning, and it's not just about networking, it's about taking action.
Yep, that's the most important piece.
It
right?
really is because you can do all the things, but if you're, learn all the things and meet all the people, but if you're not taking that step and actually getting into the ring and taking action, it's not going to change anything. And Brady's going to give us a great example of taking action.
Brady takes massive action. Like, he just doesn't just do a little bit. He just goes absolute mental and takes massive action. But that's where all the returns come in, right?
Absolutely.
Risk versus reward. What you get out, or what you put in, you get out, right? So
110%. So that's kind of who we are, what ONREIA is about, and kind of why we created ONREIA. But we are going to, on that note, jump in and get started. We do have Brady McDonald joining us tonight as our first speaker. Brady has been and his wife, Christy, have been investing in real estate now since when, Brady? It's been 2017?
2015.
15, sorry. So for a few years now. And they started out, they were still working their full-time jobs. They've jumped right in. And I'm going to let Brady tell you more about what he's been doing, and more importantly, what he's doing now, because there's been a bit of a shift, and he is going to share all of his experience that he's had over the last little while. So Brady, I'm going to hand it on over to you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jen and Shawn, and thanks for having me here. I'm excited to be talking to everybody. You've got a great group here. So I'm just gonna share. Is that what I do? Share and then do this. Okay. And then I'm gonna do that. That way I can maybe see it. But yeah, cool. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see your screen. We see like your whole desktop. There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Right on. Yeah. So I'm going to go into here. Okay, so I'll just kind of start off with an introduction about who we are. And yeah, so I'm Brady, obviously. This is my wife, Christy. Can you guys see my mouse as well? No?
Yes, we can see your mouse too.
Okay, sweet. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we have two daughters. They're 7, and we got a baby, Lexi. She's like 15 months. So we live in, right now we're living in Florida, but we have a house. We just built this new custom house in Anton Mills, which is just north of Barrie. We also have an office in Barrie where we operate our real estate investing business and construction companies and property management company and whatnot. Right in Barrie as well. And then, so Hobbies, we are big boaters. So this is our daughter on the back of our boat. So in the summers, that's what we really enjoy to do is it's kind of like our cottage. And so that's kind of like our exit and our kind of de-stress after crazy weeks. Love to travel. This is actually, we were down in Costa Rica with Jenn and Shawn last year. So we literally, lived down there for 3 or 4 months. So, that's another huge aspect of, why we do what we do and why we work our butts off so hard. And then I'm one of those crazy people that wear skirts and run half marathons. And I'm actually training for a half Ironman as well. So, about us, so we started in 2015. We have a group of companies with about 20 staff. We've purchased and renovated over $100 million or 140 properties. Property ranges from duplexes to 10-unit buildings. Holdings, we probably have a portfolio of 80 million, but I think it's it's going up $1 million every other second in Ontario right now, just because it's insane. But we do have, our companies are Live with BK Property Management, Learn with BK. So we have an education arm, BK Real Estate Investing, and then our new company in the United States is called Brightwork. So what we've done, we've built a ton of detached coach houses. Second suites was our go-to strategy with the BRRRR, where we'd buy single family homes, convert them to duplexes, refinance them. We did, I don't know how many, maybe 80 of those. And then we started building coach houses, detached coach houses. We probably built 40 or 50 of those in the last year and a half. And now we're getting more into development. So we've always been pivoting to try to, ensure that we've got enough deal flow, and also elevating ourselves into what's next and what's the new opportunities. So more recently, we've been developing land. So we've bought land like this, for example. This is 2 houses where we buy them and then sever the backs off. This is a corner. So we do stuff like that. And like, I'm kind of crazy or dumb or whatever you want to call it, but like, all of these houses need services. So we would just buy we just bought excavators and literally we were like our staff, and I was there too, because we were learning how to do it, literally digging up the city streets, going down 15 to 18 feet sometimes, and installing sewers into the sewer main. So we were just doing that stuff. New construction, right now we have 10 new construction sites, all triplexes in Barrie. And again, we're doing that, all that stuff in-house. We're huge joint venture partners, lots of awards, and educators. So just to go back a little bit, so I'm not sure, a lot of you are probably still working full-time. You may be getting into it, but you also may be kind of like working and starting to get some deal flow and really building this side hustle into a main hustle. And so that's really what we did. Like I used to work for Hydro One as a utility arborist. This is me up in the tree. This is literally what I did. I taught people how to do this. And Christy was a real estate appraiser. Right. And then there was a turning point where you guys already probably have had it, where, somebody told us about real estate investing. Right. And we had 2 properties at the time. Once we realized what it was like an ooh-ah moment. And that's one thing I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about today. And when you get into the United States is we don't really know what we're capable of or what the real opportunities are until you hear that somebody else is doing it. And what I'm going to talk to you about today and about tonight about the United States is like the opportunities is mind-blowingly massive compared to what we see in Canada. Anyway, Christy and I wanted wealth, freedom, and lifestyle. We started actually looking into developing storage units and franchises, etc. And then we learned about real estate investing and we jumped right in. So since we do about 20 to 30 deals a year, depending on, what's going on. Okay, so this is all a segue here into like why we're into Florida and why we're down here living here and buying real estate. So, and this would be something I always like to hit on this just because it's a really good exercise. Any of my coaching clients, this is what we do. The first thing that we do. And so this is literally like what is this called? A vision board that we created in 2015 when we started investing in real estate. And it's amazing when you go through this exercise and then just, envision your perfect life and what exactly you want. And then you just put it aside and just work your ass off and literally take action like Jenn and Shawn were doing. That's where the magic happens. And then look back on it in 4 years. So literally we did this. And in 2017, we quit my jobs. We bought a yacht in Florida in the Bahamas and cruised around in 2018, 19. We were speaking at events, hired a personal trainer. Our goal, and again, just to put this in perspective, our massive, crazy goal was to do 12 deals, right? We ended up doing that in the first year. So, but if you take constant action, relentless action, you can really make stuff happen, and by the time we redid the next vision board, which is this one, we had done over 100 deals. This is our new vision board. We did it in 2020, since again, we'd been, we were looking for more cash flow. Expanding in the United States was a thing that we kind of were thinking about doing or had it on our vision. I haven't got the jet yet and stuff, but, obviously we're working towards all this stuff. So, we just built our dream home, training for an Ironman. We're traveling the world, multiple streams of income, expanding in the United States, attending masterminds and hosting masterminds, and really living where we want to today. So whatever you do, this is all about really thinking about what your ideal life is and then reverse engineering your life so you actually can get to where you want. And if I can tell you a couple more stories here while we go through this about that. So we're going to hop into Florida. I'm going to have to keep pumping through this. And then I think there's question time at the end. So just bear with me. Why Florida? Number one for us is we don't like the cold. I'm a healthier, happier, more active person when I'm in warm weather. We like it, right? So this is where we want to be. So that's one of the reasons. Florida's open for business. And the difference between Canada and the United States is that you're rewarded for risk here. In Canada, you're not. You just get taxed. So they're open for business here. There's so much opportunity. what I like about Florida, I mean, I think that it's a good thing for all of you, depending, because we don't all have a limited amount of money. So sometimes like the entry level deal is $200,000 and that's all we can do. Well, that's the nice thing about Florida. It's not like Ontario right now. Like there's $200,000 houses and there's $1 million houses. There's everything in between. So you can really get into any, lots of opportunities here, no matter what, how much capital you actually have. Favorable tax laws. There is no state tax. That's pretty sweet. Population growth. There's 1,000 people coming into Florida every single day right now. Strong rental market. Like, you know, like I've been paying $2,000 to $3,000 a week for rentals down here since we came down in the last 2 months ago. Favorable rental laws, unlike Ontario. Money. There's so much capital down here. Like, I don't even know if you could hit the financial wall. Seriously, like if you just take action, create relationships, there's more money down here than you'd ever know what to do with. And there's a lot more opportunity. And I'll explain why I think there's 10x more opportunity than there is in Ontario. And strategies to scale. And one thing you can't do is compare yourself to Shawn, because Shawn just finds opportunities anywhere, right? And like him and Shawn or Jenn are just 10x themselves. So anyway, strategies that scale, like, and I'll talk about that. But anyway, these are why Florida is a great place for business. I think Texas is also another great one as well. And I'm sure there's lots of places in between, but that's just my hot list. So strategies that scale. This is something to think about. Short-term vacation rentals, they're open for 12 months a year down here, especially in Florida. Like right now, they're expecting that the short-term rental season is not, there isn't a season. They're expecting it to go all year like it did last year. Flips, like when you look at the guys in Canada that are really killing it, like the guys in the United States that are killing it are doing thousands of deals, right? So it's just because there's so much more opportunity, there's a lot more money. Single family homes, you can still buy if that was your strategy, which I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but single family homes, there's still lots of people. I know some guys that are, probably going to be buying 50 single family homes down here this year, and they still cash flow. Multifamily and apartment buildings. There's 141,000 10-unit buildings, like over 10-unit buildings, and there's 98,000 20 plus unit buildings. Right? In Ontario and in Canada, these things are unicorns, right? They're very hard to find. Wholesalers, they do thousands of deals. A lot of these guys are doing it not virtually and nationwide, right? Literally from a computer in Dallas, Texas, one of my buddies. Self-storage developments, like I know, my coach is doing 10 to 20 million, 10 to 20 startups a year, and they're $20 million each. New construction homes. This is another competitive advantage down here. The cost to build a new construction home is $212 a square foot. That's a custom home, including a pool. In Canada, that's $400 a square foot for like a nice custom house. Syndications for apartments, storage, like again, there's just tons of money. And then there's lots of passive options. I mean, there's opportunity everywhere, no matter what, strategy you really want to get into and scale. So this is, again, back to the action taking. This is really like, there's nothing that you can do wrong if you just keep taking enough action. We're going to win, we're going to lose, we're going to learn some time. But like at the end of the day, do not wait for the ship to come in, swim out to it. I just love that. There's actually a picture that we just took in the BVI's there last week, or a few weeks ago. So we actually, to give you a little insight, we actually were in Florida, like looking to buy in Florida one time before. This is in 2019 in Jacksonville. So I believe this is right around the time when we actually created that vision board, or maybe right before. We knew it was it's still a great market. Like it's booming and blowing up right now. I was actually talking to an investor that's buying like a couple hundred unit or somewhere in between 1 to 200 unit building right now in Jacksonville, or offering on it. What happened was I just really struggled creating relationships. We actually had our boat there. Like this is us coming into Jacksonville Harbor on our boat. And we knew no one. We knew nothing about financing. We knew nothing about corporate structures. We didn't have a coach. We didn't have a mentor or a tribe to lean on. We were executing on a vision. We were just literally knew that we wanted a goal, that we knew that there's opportunity there. They say that it's a great town, and it just felt like there was something that we needed to do, but we really didn't take the right steps at all. We didn't immerse ourselves into the market, right? So what my takeaways from that are, like, now we're doing it a lot differently, and it's obviously being a lot more successful. We've also grown a lot, I would say, like since 2019. Like it's been, 2.5 years since, or 3 years, I guess, almost. And, we've grown a lot and we've learned a lot as well. And we've anyway, so my takeaways from that, and these are going to be takeaways that, like, this is going to spin into why we're successful today. But we were focusing on the vision and the big goal. We didn't reverse engineer like, we're just looking at the goal and trying to do stuff, right? We didn't really break down the steps in reverse to really determine what we should be doing now, and then what we really need to be doing next to to play the long game, to like get to that vision and get to that goal. We need to focus on creating relationships, which is a huge thing. This is the thing about investing in the United States, is that you don't have your relationships to lean on, and you don't really have time. Like, it's not like you can slow play this because you live there, right? You can slowly buy real estate in Canada. You could take 3 weeks, to analyze a deal. Well, you can't do that in Florida unless you are down here, living it and diving into it. So you really need to rely on relationships. You need to determine your strategy. You need to be very, purposeful as to what you're looking for, because your time is valuable. And it takes time to get into a market. So try to really get it. We needed to get into figure out the strategy that we're going to deploy, which we didn't. We didn't have any money, as far as access to capital, or know where to borrow money, or, what financial institutions in Canada or United States that would lend us to us. We were being very reactive versus proactive. Okay. So now we were in Costa Rica, like I said, with Jenn and Shawn all last winter, and it was amazing. It was literally, we all did work. We, Shawn and Jenn, bought that monster house that they're working on renovating right now. And we did tons of deals. It was, we met at the beach, had beers, we traveled together, and it was just a really great experience. But what doesn't happen in Costa Rica and other places like that is you don't grow a business and scale business. It's just, I guess some people have done it, but I would say that's not your intention when you go to those places. So we had no real plan. So now we're coming down to Florida, right? We didn't really have a complete plan to execute. We didn't know where we were going to stay when we came to Florida. This is just us. We were kind of insane. But we didn't know where we were going to invest in Florida. We didn't know the strategy that we were going to deploy. And we didn't know who our team was going to be to help us do whatever we decided that we were going to do. But what we did know, what we were going to do first. These were our 3 goals. So I literally drove my butt down. This was, from, I guess I stayed the first night in Detroit, down to Destin. So I was coming down to a mastermind. Okay. And I had 3 goals, and I did this very purposefully to get these 3 things sorted out. Number 1, I want to create relationships. Number 2, with rockstar real estate investors that are doing it in multiple different facets, right? The next thing I wanted to do is learn about and determine the strategy. So at this mastermind, they were talking about wholesaling, flipping, storage facilities, what else? Mobile home parks, branding, there was, the branding, the mindset, and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? But anyway, so I wanted to learn primarily about the mobile home parks, and I wanted to learn about storage. Those are the 2 things that I came to really hear about. And also I wanted to start to build my power team, right? So get people in my corner in the United States that I knew that could help me, that could mitigate my risk, that could speed up this learning curve, to make sure that I was going to have the best chance at winning in the next 6 months. Because you need to really hit the ground running in the first 6 months to make sure you get your roots in deep enough that you can actually grow and sustain the growth, right? That is just a huge thing. You need to be pumping those roots and keep working your butt off, building the business, getting the systems implemented, and making sure that you have you're getting the lawyer right the first time, you're getting the financing right the first time. You don't want to be wasting time and months trying to sort this stuff out on your own. This is why you hire people to help you. Anyway, so what happened? So literally creating relationships with people that were doing thousands of flips, and they own thousands of units that are doing millions. There was one dude, actually, this guy speaking in the mastermind. This guy was just sitting right here next to me the entire week. That guy's doing $1 million a day. He paid the $5,000 to sit in the room beside us to learn about real estate investing from the pros, right? That guy's doing $1 million a day. And in his company, he's one of the fastest growing companies in the United States. Again, and we were having dinner with this dude. He's just a normal dude. You would never know that was, who was sitting to you, but you want to talk about what you can learn from these people, right? It's mind blowing. So about our strategy, we determined our strategy that we're going to flip 20 to 30 houses this year, really just to build the US bank account up. I want to stop bringing Canadian funds, paying the 30 points, and then, getting, half your money back, or actually 70%. But anyway, I learned about syndications, and then I determined that we were going to do syndications and develop storage facilities. Okay. Our goal is to develop 3 to 5 storage facilities a year. This year, we're going to put 3 into the pipeline and then add 5 every year after that. And then we hired a rock star coach who, like, again, this guy's doing 10 to 20 storage facility startups every single year. So, that was just like a huge success. Check. Now we know what we're doing. We got to go and find where we want to be, right? So that was the next thing we did. So we determined our area. This is very important, I think. So anyway, like, you can go wherever you want in Florida or United States. I just think like it's kind of similar to what we did at home. Like we stayed very close to home. I know a lot of investors, including Shawn, like they pull this stuff off everywhere. We stay very close to home. So we've kept all of our stuff in Collingwood, Midland, ONREIA, and Barrie, okay, within an hour of our house, or half an hour really. So we kind of kept the same strategy. So we were trying to figure, okay, along this coast, this is the coast that we want to be at. Where are we going to find, where do we want to be? So we dove into those markets. We're starting to offer in Naples, Fort Myers, Cape Coral, and up into Sarasota. At the end of the day, we were using multiple realtors. There's a big thing of viewing lots of properties, asking the same, sometimes even took the same, different realtors in the same properties and asked them the same questions to get their feedback to really determine, like who's like, just trying to really figure out what the right answers are. Make lots of offers. I mean, it's a numbers game at the end of the day. We're getting on to wholesalers list, and we're starting to go into networking events. There's, for example, like there's one right here in Cape Coral. It's 2 times a month, right? One at 8 o'clock and one at lunch. 7 o'clock at night and one at lunch on every 2 weeks. So, that's, again, I think you really need to figure out where you want to be and then really immerse yourself into that area. Like there is opportunity anywhere, right? I think, it just, obviously the price points are going to change a little bit, and maybe, there's going to be some areas that are better than others, but I think you can make a lot of money anywhere in Florida. So again, a great saying, where your focus goes, the magic and opportunity flows. So it just happened that we were spending most of our time at Cape Coral, and obviously that's where all of our deals have come from so far. Okay, so I know a lot of people have been asking me a lot of stuff about corporate structures. I mean, I'm not an accountant, and your accountant in Canada is probably going to tell you to consult with a US CPA, which is highly advisable. Actually, it's the only thing you have to do. It's a must, right? I've heard multiple ways to set up your corporate structures from multiple different people. And I've also, like, from some people that are doing it, some people that have kind of like are working towards it. And even the people that are doing it and have done it in the United States for quite a while, they said there's so many different ways. There's not like there's some ways that are just better vehicles than others, but there's totally some wrong ways. Okay. So we're set up, I can just quickly explain it, that we've got an LP, which is our holding company, and our operating company, which is a limited partnership company. And then there's a C Corp, which is a 1% partner of that. And then our Canadian Corp, which is a 99% partner of the LP. And so the goal, like, again, there's so many different ways, but you should really have your accountants on both sides working together. Things that you want to prevent is double taxation. So you don't want to be paying tax in the United States as well as being paid tax in Canada for the same amount of money, for the same money. That's just nuts. Something else that people aren't normally aware of is Ferpa Withholding. So this is where, like, if you hold a property in an LLC, I know this is what I've been told. And then also personally, actually, one of my friends, they've owned a property here for like 30 years. And whatever it is for the United States, they're withholding, I believe it was like 20 or 30% of the proceeds of the sale. And for whatever reason, you can totally prevent all this, right? With proper education and proper setting up of your stuff. But again, it's something like you want to prevent against these things. There's EIN numbers for your corporations that takes time to get back when you're setting up your businesses. You kind of have to do one first, get the EIN number, and then you apply for your other. Like it takes time, I guess is what I'm saying. Then there's ETIN numbers, where these are the numbers that you need that actually will build US credit. Like totally can build US credit, 100% personally and corporately. So again, something that I would highly recommend you just do right away, versus like we didn't realize until a little bit down the road where we're like, oh crap, of course we want to build US credit. Like, why didn't we do this on day one, right? And then corporate liability insurance. The way that like Ontario works with WSIB, it's not the same in the United States, obviously, or in each state's a little bit different as well. So corporate liability insurance is kind of actually where a lot of that stuff plays out. So, you know, like, again, if you're doing business down here, you're going to want to obviously get that set up as well. Visas, we're actively working through this process. You know, we're very close to applying for our E2 visa, which is an investor visa. You know, obviously you need to work with an immigration lawyer. You know, they can be either in Canada or in the United States. You know, obviously come grab one that's highly referable, like somebody that's used them and that, you know, that so they know what they're doing. So what we've heard, again, I'm not a lawyer, but like a lot of them will say the easiest way they say is to buy a franchise. But like, and I mean, you talk to a lot of the people that have kind of gone down this road a little bit, and like, I don't want to buy a job. You know, like a franchise is a job. I don't have a job now. I don't want a job. I don't want to be tied to like any job. So like the last thing I wanted to do with that. So the easiest for me was really just to recreate the business that we've already built in Canada, in the United States, right? So this is a flipping business. It's active business because it's flipping and it's scalable. We can scale this in both directions, right? We've hired employees. We've already hired 3 employees. You can also hire contractors, subcontractors. But the nice thing about this is I'm told that it is a relatively, like, it's a pretty solid, justifiable reason to get an E2 visa. You know, and it's, like I said, it's scalable both directions. We can scale this up to 20 to 30 this year, and then we can literally do nothing and go into like storage next year, right? Which is kind of nice. Profitable is a big thing. You know, the US wants to know that, yeah, you're making money, that you're hiring US citizens, your supplies are coming from the US, and that you're not going to have to, you're not going to be a burden to the United States. You know, you're actually going to make money. You can pay for your own stuff. Longer term, you know, we're developing and owning and developing and building storage facilities. That's our big play. And then this is something that I didn't know until more recently, that you do need to hire a professional business plan writer. So I like, when we're going to get into like you know, like a mastermind that we're putting on coming up, but like, we're going to, like, this is just something like right when you start dealing with your immigration lawyer, start working with a professional business writer who will actually put a proper business plan together for you. And these people really know what to put in there, and basically will sell it for you. Financing. Okay, so financing, again, it's a huge hurdle to get over. It's not like, once you get into this and like can create the relationships, and it also obviously helps when you have a track record. But like there's lots of options out here. There is like, I can't believe how mentally I thought it was such a pain point the first time I was ever here. And it always does seem to be one. Like, it's just hard to get good information, accurate information anywhere. When you're Googling stuff and trying to figure it out online from a computer at home, it's very hard, I get it, to figure out how to get your financing. When you're here, you're talking to people face to face, you're creating relationships. You really expose that there's more money here than there could ever, like, it's just insane amount of money. So a couple like easy, really fast ways, like this is an approval letter we just got like 2 days ago for $720,000 from RBC. It's at 4.125%. It's an 80% loan to value mortgage. You know, I would be going to RBC right now and doing that. If you're interested in buying something in Florida, it's probably the cheapest money you're going to get. Great terms. And yeah, so they'll, like, don't quote me on any of this stuff, but like they'll do, I believe, up to $2 million in mortgages and up to 4 properties. So depending on what you've got in Ontario or in Canada, you know, obviously they're going to factor that in. I've got options at 4.5%. These are US based institutional loans. They add 2 points to it as well. So it ends up being 6.5, which is actually pretty reasonable. Like it's really cheap. You're probably not going to get it much cheaper, or even if it's possible. Those are 75% loan to value. So that's pretty sweet deal. Like, again, like in Canada, like the cash flow here is just so much more. So you can really make these numbers work, you know, obviously if you analyze the property. So private money, 10 to 14% plus points, low docs, no doc loans, like literally no docs. They literally likely won't even do an appraisal. Like, and those are at 75% for sure. You know, I'm getting my privates down to 8% right now. just because of like how many deals that we've done. Lenders, okay, this is important, interesting. Like if you want to try to find the money, the lenders themselves consider the realtors the clients. So like they use the realtors as like their marketing people, like, which is genius for, you know, like they don't do that in Canada, but like, which makes sense. Like, meaning if you've got a realtor that's going to do 30 deals or 50 deals, well, their realtor like really helps the clients get the financing. Right? So it's no brainer. Identify your financing on the purchase contract. That's something you actually have to do, and you're legally responsible to stick to that. Right? So that's a bit weird. There's some games that you can play there though too that we're learning and figuring out. Just because right now, if you put conditional financing, you're not getting any deal in Florida. Well, maybe you are, but not anywhere that's highly sought after. It's just so high demand. You know, they'll close in 1 week if it's private, 30 days if it's institutional. Like the institutional is going to require an appraisal. Appraisals take 2 weeks. You know, the financial wall, which is so typical to hear that we hit in Canada, is it's like it's a lot harder to hit here. Like I don't know, it would almost be impossible in my opinion. So what that means is just that there's more opportunity. Okay, so our successes so far. I know I'm flying through this, but I think I just got to because. We're getting close to the end. So we purchased 3 properties in Cape Coral. We literally duplicated our business. So we built a US-based team of professionals and allies. We've got the entire team in place. So we've created the corporate structures. We've got websites and all the marketing, like we're doing paid ads down here already. We've got all of our internal business systems and processes with regards to tracking and invoicing. You know, we systematically did all of the renovations and all the materials as well. We've hired the 2 staff that know exactly what they're putting in where already. You know, like it is actually somewhat running on autopilot already. We're building both US credit personally and business. We've hired 3 staff. Like I said, we've got off-market lead gen going on right now. We're just about to launch. There's no privacy laws down here. So you can find any information you want on anybody. Like if you've got bankruptcy, like if I put it to your address, I'm going to get bankruptcy information. If you've been to jail for whatever reason, your kids, anybody that's ever lived in that house, all your emails, all your phone numbers in like 2 seconds search. So we're really going to be hitting the off-market campaigns hard just to get that deal flow up. We're applying for the visa at any time now, analyzing land all the time. So this is the next big thing now that we've got the flipping part somewhat stabilized. We'll be analyzing deals for storage developments. Yeah, and we're really just living an active lifestyle in the warmth. So these are the 3 properties that we bought. This is one we're almost finished. We're going to end up living there. So we did like all new palm trees. Like you want to make sure like we end up selling this that you feel like you're in Florida. So we did all this palm trees, all this like stonework through the whole front and back. And that was around $6,000, which is, you know, like, and nobody does it down here. This is actually where we're living right now. This one is on a canal. We got this one for like $515. Like these 2 are on canals. They're around that $515 mark, which is probably like $570 now. This is another one that we close on in about a month. But like, just to show like a quick opportunity, like this is about $300,000 US in profit once we sell these. These are like, keep in mind, like these are bungalows, right? Like, I don't know, like it's not a duplex conversion. These are not hard renovations. This is lipstick as far as I'm concerned. So like, you know, they're 4 to 6 weeks of renovations. These are combined would rent for $9,000 a week, small and short-term rental. So if you just only rent half the time of the year, 50% of the year, that's $234,000. Like you could literally do this. This is all you do. And you just, you know, you could totally retire on that. Like that's just how, like, you don't have to get overly complicated in this. You know, I think you still probably have to set up your structures and whatnot, but this is the stuff that we're looking to do here. So we're looking to buy minimum 5 acres in high vis retail locations. We're looking to build 80,000 net square feet, like storage facilities with, you know, at least half of that's climate controlled. So we're looking, you know, there's going to be required to be land use approvals. We're going to be building the facilities. We're going to actually have one of the big 5 manage it. So we don't have to, once we build it, we give them 5% and they manage it and look after it. Once it's refied and leased up, it's going to actually be at a cap rate. It's going to be at 6%. It's good. They're worth as an appraised at 20 million, right? With the total cost to build of 13. So you can see kind of the opportunities and the reason why we're going to be, that's the route that we're going. Okay. So that was, we're kind of getting on to the end. So what do you do next? again, like Shawn said, take action, because later often becomes never. That's just the reality, right? You know, like the sooner you can do things, there's going to be a sense of urgency in everything you do. You know, put yourself in the right room. It's the biggest thing. When you are not living, when you're not from some place, you need to really rely on your relationships and other people to really help you and make sure that you don't get screwed. If you like, if you're going to get screwed, it's going to be in the United States too, by the way. Like, so even the people that have done the thousands of deals, like everything that they do is to protect themselves, right? And it's stuff that you don't ever have to worry about in Canada, but you do have to worry about it here. Surrounding yourself with people who are doing it, right? Build your tribe, determine your strategy, and then take more action. So who can see the opportunity in the States? Give me a 1 in the chat. And who is ready to take action? I gotta find even where this chat's at. There it is. Is there a bunch of them in there?
I'm seeing a lot of ones pop up.
A lot of ones? Okay, well, that's sweet. So I am too. So I'm just gonna go through. I got a few more slides. Yeah, so I am too. So as much as I would obviously love to give you everything you need to know to start investing in the United States today in 30 minutes, obviously it's not possible. So that's why I selfishly created a mastermind with, you know, extremely successful US-based real estate entrepreneurs. And so I'm inviting you guys all to that as well. It's the exact same room. It's at our place in Florida, and there is only going to be 20 people in this room max. The reason why we're limiting it only to 20 people is to really make sure that the conversations are deep, that the goals are accomplished, and that lifelong allies are actually created in each and every entrepreneur who attends it. This is not a $10 room, so be fair warned, but these are not going to be $10 conversations in that room. It's a $5,000 room, and they're $100,000 conversations. This is a room filled with multimillionaires, people who have done thousands of deals, who have built massive teams, who have goals, and who are on the path to building $1 billion real estate assets. You know, what happens in these rooms? Partnerships are created, money is lent and borrowed, deals are made, services are traded, introductions are made. Again, there's only 20 spaces. There's only 12 spaces left as of today. So just the last little bit of details here. It's on April 8th and 9th. If you want to, you could register today, or we could set up a call and just to discuss a bit more. It's in person in Cape Coral, 2 full days and evenings of high level mastermind. There's coaching sessions. Speakers are going to be talking about flipping, wholesaling, vacation rentals, storage, syndications, multifamily, raising capital, visas, corporations. All the meals are included. And then if you like to work out, we're going to do an optional workout. And you have my personal guarantee. If you don't actually like it and it sucked, which I doubt that's going to happen, but we'll pay for your airfare and accommodations if you're not satisfied. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram. That's all I got.
Fantastic, Brady. You're like, do you remember the guy from Micro Machines, that commercial where it's like when he's talking? I kind of feel like you're a quick talker, but that's good. You needed to, because there was a lot of content you covered there. We have a question here from, are you good to take questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to leave that up and I'll just.
Oh yeah, leave that up so people can, if they're still writing stuff down or whatever. So Mahendra, I'm sorry if I didn't say that correctly. Can you talk about warranty post reno, like how in Ontario we have the Terry on warranty? Yeah,
so in the United States, it's actually extreme what they do, especially in Florida. They have licensing for everything. So to build a house, you actually have to have a home builder's license. To do any renovations, like if I hired a contractor, then I would have to have a general contractor's license, or that person would. Like they license lawn care, they license, you know, you name it, everything. You need a building permit to change windows, to do the sod in the friggin' boulevard. Yeah, there's permit, like it's actually a giant pain in the butt, but what they do for the warranty, it's all falling under the license of that licensed home builder.
Cool.
We found, sorry, just to sort of pipe in our own sort of knowledge there. We had one in Boca Raton that didn't turn out very well, but a flip that we were trying to do. And, you know, as you're talking about the difficulty with, you know, licenses and certified people, they wouldn't actually let us do our own repairs under our own name. So we couldn't get an owner operator building permit. Which is insane, right? Like you can't get your own owner operator thing to do it yourself. We actually had to hire a licensed GC to do what we wanted to do. So just very interesting. Like it's different than Canada for sure.
Well, and I think it all depends on your HOA, right? Like their HOAs down here are a big thing, whereas in
No,
Canada,
that was based on the county.
the county,
Yeah.
right? But HOAs are their own animals.
Yeah.
What I'm saying as
for
well.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of layers I've learned, and I think actually the rumor on the street is that they're going to be doing away with all of the county licensing, and the state is actually going to take control of it because it is way too intense and people can't get work done. It's actually a big problem. So I think it sounds like it is going to be loosening up a little bit.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Let's see. I don't know if anyone had put questions in the chat accidentally. If you had put a question in the chat, and I obviously don't see it, if you want to put it in the Q&A, I can let Brady know. I do see when someone's asking who your coach is. Are you releasing that information?
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy from the United States. His name's Joe. So like, and again, like, so I've hired different business coaches. I mean, this is actually something that I think maybe we should talk about a little bit, just with regards to the importance of hiring a coach. I know lots of real estate agents hire coaches. You know, I believe, you know, or I believe Erwin has had a coach or maybe has a coach, for example. Like they elevate you, and you can see the stuff, for example, that Erwin and Cherry have done. Like that doesn't just happen just, you know, because they picked out an idea and they want to do a 300 person event. That is because like they've, you know, they're surrounding themselves with rock star coaches that shortcut the success, right? And I think that's something that we're real estate investors, you know, in the United States, it's widespread. It's what successful people do. And maybe not as much in the real estate investing world that I've seen anyway. So I think it's just something that maybe like everybody really should consider. You know, it's, you have to look at it as an investment. But I think, you know, normally if you can hire the right person, then you can, you know, you can really elevate your success and just do way more.
Absolutely. That's what Shawn found when he had hired his first coach. It just, how did you frame it?
It just condenses the amount of time.
Right.
You know, the time knowledge.
Yeah.
The days is one thing that I like to say, like it just literally, you know, you can really shorten up the learning curve.
We had a question here. He's asking where is the best place to invest in Florida?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a complete Florida expert. I just know it's working for us. Like I think, you know, like there's, you know, the hot markets are Tampa, Jacksonville, Orlando. I mean, there's probably a bunch of other ones, but I know those are always top of mind. You know, I'm not investing in any of those spots, but you know, realistically, I think there's such a migration of people from the north coming down, and the population growth is so high everywhere. Like I think there's obviously bad pockets, but I think you could do fairly well everywhere. I think what you need to do if you're going to do it is, like, again, I think you should do it where you want to be. Focus there. It's going to make it a lot easier, and you know, you're going to be able to rely on relationships a lot more than, you know, if you just like pick a place because the stats say you should be there.
Excellent point, Brady. I think, you know, I had posted something in the chat earlier. Our governor here, Ron DeSantis, had just posted some stats about Florida and travel, how many visitors have come to Florida, and it is at an all-time high. Just in October to December, Florida saw 30.9 million visitors. They're not all going to like one or two markets. Like it's spread out. There's visitors, there's people moving here from, like you said, up north, but also out west. In our area, we're seeing a ton of people coming in from California. It is just massive growth here in Florida. So definitely, I don't think you can really go wrong, but when you do think about where you want to be, it's a great idea to connect with a realtor, connect with an investor group down here, and you know, talk to people who are on the ground here. Let's see. Nick is asking, do you offer coaching, Brady?
Yeah, we do. It's like in more of a limited capacity. We're not just full-fledged coaches. It does take a lot of time. So we usually have like two active coaching clients that we deal with at any given time. But yeah, I mean, it's something that we could hop on a call and discuss and kind of see what you're thinking and what your goals are and see if there's an opportunity to work together.
Perfect. And Nick, you've got Brady's contact info there, so feel free to reach out to him. Let's see, one more question. We are hearing people are buying sight unseen. Is there a chance to buy in South Florida? And maybe that's Allie. Allie, maybe you want to also connect with Brady offline. I think Brady's pulling together some off-market deals, so perhaps that's something that would be of interest.
Yeah, totally.
Let's see. Okay, Hora is asking tons of questions here. That's great. What type of property should you invest in Florida? Single family, condo, multifamily? I guess that all depends on what your goals are, but what are your thoughts, Brady?
Yeah, totally. I think it's, 100%. That would be just something that you would need to like remember when I said I came down here, I didn't know what my strategy was, and I didn't have any relationships. Well, that was my goal. Like if I went to that mastermind and I figured out those two things, then I was satisfied. And that's something that you just really need to figure out for yourself. Like it's, what I'm doing at home and what I'm doing down here are not the same at all. But it's just what is working for us now based on, where we want to go. So, I mean, I think you need to try to, make that as a priority though.
Absolutely. Steve was asking, can you elaborate more on how you can waive, is it Ferpa withholding tax? Can Canadians also use the 1031 exchange when flipping?
Yeah, again, I'm not an accountant, and I'm not sure about the 1031, to be honest. I've actually wrote it down today because somebody else asked me about that. The Ferpa thing, though, is like you can deal with it if you know. Again, this is just what I'm told, but like it sounds like you can deal with it if you like submit proper forms to the IRS like within 6 months or whatever. But you can also, through your proper corporate structure, you can totally just remove the risk of it. But again, highly just talk to a US accountant that understands real estate investing, and they'll be able to advise on that.
Perfect. And you're going to have lots of experts joining you at this mastermind. So guys, if you are seriously considering investing in Florida or want to see what that might look like, connect with Brady afterwards and look into it, because honestly, taking massive action and being successful, you're talking to someone here, Brady, who has who's done it, and he knows how to do it, and he's willing to share that with others in our community here. So I think that's fantastic. All right, Brady, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks, Jen and Shawn, for having me. It was nice to be here, and hope everybody got some value out of that.
Absolutely. And we should have done maybe a turtle egg shot to wrap up the evening.
Oh yeah, that would be, yeah, maybe we'll do that when we get together here next month.
All right. Okay. Well, Brady, I'm going to get you to stop sharing your screen, and we are going to connect with our next speaker of the evening. And let's see here if I can scroll over. There we go. Awesome. So next up, I'm going to go right into our next speaker here. We have Cherry Chan joining us tonight. And Cherry, did you know it was exactly a year ago that you were on ONREIA last year?
Yes. I feel very fortunate to be on again, but then I feel very I feel like my presentation is not nearly as excited as Brady's presentation. It's such a huge, like, drastic drop of energy. So especially with the topic, I wish I had gone first, and it makes life a lot easier.
Well, I don't know anyone who can follow Brady's energy, to be quite honest. So, and no worries, because, it doesn't always have to be excitement. We really need to kind of get drilling down into some of the other topics that might not be that exciting, but are absolutely necessary. So actually, I'll have you maybe do a little bit of an intro of yourself just to kind of go over who you are. I did a little bit to on our email list, so they had a bit of a background on who you are and what you do, but maybe you want to talk a little bit more yourself.
Yes, I will do that as part of my presentation then.
All right, fantastic. And your connection is great. Cherry's joining us from up north right now, so I'm glad it's working out.
It's not. I'm actually joining you from home. I thought that you meant next month. So then when I saw your post, and I thought, oh, it's actually in February. And so I have to rush to get this presentation done. So hopefully everything goes well.
Okay.
Yes. So welcome everyone. Today, we're going to talk about the CIA audit, tips and traps and the triggers that potentially can trigger a CIA audit. And a little bit about myself. I am a chartered professional accountant in Canada. I am licensed here. I wrote a book a couple of years ago called Complete Taxation Guide to Canadian Real Estate Investing, and it has become Amazon bestseller since 2010. Last year, I published another book called Complete Taxation Guide to Canadian Real Estate Agents. So those are my two books. This book has been on Amazon bestsellers and is still on Amazon bestsellers. And today, as a thank you to Shawn and Jenn that host this event, I'm going to give away this book. So if you want a copy of this book, you can visit realestatetaxtips.ca/ONREIA to download a copy of this Amazon bestseller for your own reading. Now, I'm on social media as well. You can follow me on realestatetaxtips.ca, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm all on all social media. Apparently, I also have a TikTok account that my team set up for me. I'm also on TikTok. A little bit of a disclaimer to start off. I always start off with this disclaimer because your situation may be different from other situation. Make sure that you consult with an accountant that knows about your situation and the documentation that you have, especially when it comes down to an audit situation. The best person to defend you is likely someone who knows your situation that you can share with or you've been sharing with and that knows your books inside out. Now, let's start. So I don't know if you guys are aware, there was an audit there was a report that was being published in 2010 to 2011. It is a report that's published by CIA. And essentially what CIA says in that report is that they conducted a bunch of random audits. And then they conducted a bunch of targeted audits. They find the people who are supposedly high risk, people who would cheat on their taxes, and they conduct a bunch of those target audits. So they compare the result of these two types of audit. Random is just random draw and see how the result is. And as it turns out from the report that they published and released in 2011, the random audit detected significant non-compliance in only 12.2% of the audit case. The targeted audit, based on the risk assessment, detected significant non-compliance in 46% of the cases. So, well, as you can see, target audit based on risk assessment has become the CIA preferred approach. Target audit, and since the report has been released, CIA has commenced fewer audits, actually smaller number of audits compared to 2011. And in part is because they wanted to put more effort into auditing high-risk taxpayers. And this resulted, and the result of it is actual dollar value. This resulted in CIA exceeding two of its important performance indicators. They are adjusting a higher percentage of tax returns audited, 79%, well above the CIA's target of 75%, and also generating a higher fiscal impact. So per auditor, they're generating $423,000 based on the report that was given, $423,000 per full-time auditor, well above the target, CIA target of $350,000. So they are right now spending all their time on targeted audit. So who are the most at risk? who are the taxpayers that are most at risk. As you know, people who are making a lot of money these days, and who's making a lot of money these days, not surprisingly, is in this real estate industry. As a matter of fact, they have a page on CRA's website dedicated to talking about how they address the non-compliance in the real estate sector. And they go into the significant tax, significant area of tax non-compliance and what they are focusing on in terms of auditing. And these are the transactions that could potentially trigger an audit in real estate industry. Reported income does not support lifestyle. You do property flipping if the property is not reported as capital gain or non-reported income altogether. You have unreported capital gains on sale of property, unreported capital gains on property sold by non-residents. That's irrelevant for today's discussion. You may have GST and HST on the sale of new or substantially renovated home, and then the rebates. This page has been published since 2015, and I've been following this page since it's been published till today. And this is the latest information. They don't have the latest 2022 information yet, but as you can see, they have recovered quite a bit of money from these targeted audits, $951 million in Ontario and $903 million in BC. And the number of files completed is 47,000 versus 10,000. Now, GST and HST new housing rebate and GST and HST new residential rental rebates accounted for a lot of the focus audit in Ontario and a lot of the, the recovery of tax revenue in Ontario. So we are going to spend a little bit of time on it. We're going to address the rest of them as well. The reason why we have this new housing residential rebate versus new housing rebate versus new residential rental property rebate issue is because the confusion between the two names, because they're super similar. There's new housing rebate, there is new residential rental property rebate. New housing rebate is the rebate that you get when you purchase a brand new home and you're moving into it. You have to move into it, or your family members has to move into it. Now, you can qualify to claim this new housing rebate. You can qualify to claim this new housing rebate only if you're moving into the property. But this new housing rebate can be assigned to the builder to claim on behalf of you. As a matter of fact, the builder always assumed that you're going to move into the property. They already built in this new housing rebate for you, and they build it in this way. So when you purchase a brand new construction home, if the sale price the builder is going to get is $500,000, they add the HST, which in Ontario is $65,000, and then they subtract the new housing rebate. In this case, is $24,000, and the net sale price that they posted on the billboard and you see on the agreement of purchase and sale is this $541,000. They already pre-baked this amount into their sale price, and they already assume that you're going to move into the property. This is why there is such a confusion. When you're not moving into the property, well, this rebate is only allowed to be when you're not moving into the property, this new housing rebate would not be available for you to claim. You can only claim this rebate if you are moving into the property. And the way to claim it typically with the new housing is to assign it to the builder to claim it on behalf of you. Now, if you're not planning to do it at all, you aren't moving in at all, what you would do is that you don't have the right to claim this particular rebate. All you can do is compensate the builder on this $24,000 instead of paying the builder $541,000. You pay the builder $565,000. So you compensate an extra $24,000 at closing to the builder. Now, if you are using this brand new home as a long-term rental instead, So you you compensate the builder $24,000. This $24,000 is not lost. If you compensate the lawyer for compensate the builder for this $24,000, you can claim this $24,000 back in a different format, using a different form. It's called New Residential Rental Property Rebate. I know it's complicated, but essentially it is the rebate, the same amount of rebate available, similar form. You're essentially just having to fund this $24,000 at closing, and then you apply for the rebate back at the time when you sign the long-term rental lease after closing. Because sometimes some pre-construction homes take longer than there would be an occupancy period, but you don't own. So that means you don't own the property as of yet. So you will get that new residential rental property rebate with the application of the long-term rental lease and the application form together with your closing document. You would still be able to get the $24,000 back. But you don't get it at the time as a reduction of the sale price. Instead, you get it after the fact, and pretty much you have to fund that $24,000 for a few months because it takes the process of getting back the $24,000. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure some of you have already gone through that process. My experience, and as well with my clients' experience, typically the turnaround time is about about 3 months. Now, you may wonder, how does CLA actually know what's happening? Well, I have never worked for CLA. I worked as an auditor for many years, from my graduation, before my graduation, to a few years after after I worked full time. The way that I could visualize what CLA did is that they could go to land registry. Land registry is essentially a public website, public record. You can check out the land registry, and then builder would also provide CLA with the list of units that they claim HST new housing rebate, the one that require the buyer to move into. And upon closing of the CLA, CLA can obtain that list of owners of these units from the land registry. Now, once that's done, they would compare the address to their database of these owners and see if the address match. If the address doesn't match, then obviously something's happening. Now, the second thing that they could do is that CLA could also search up these addresses in their database and see who changed the address to that particular location, the property's address. And sometimes it's a tenant, unrelated person living there. So those would be the factors that you would that CLA could find out you're not complying and qualifying to claim those property rebates. Now, if you made a mistake, you didn't even realize, because a lot of the time people don't understand when they purchase the document, sign off to sign the documents, they don't understand how the math works. So they just sign the paper blindly trusting that everything has to be signed, and they sign it at the office. They didn't even realize that they have to have that obligation to pay the $24,000 at the time of closing. And then they close the property, assuming themselves moving in, and that's over with. And then later on, they get a letter from CLA asking for an explanation or asking for the $24,000 back. Or sometimes now you've gone through this presentation and you realize, hey, there isn't a potential for me to get audited. What should I do? And the way it's going to work is that if you have a long-term lease available beyond. A long-term lease means that the lease has to be about 1 year long. If you have a long-term lease and the tenant is using this new property as their primary residence, what you can do is that you can submit the application for the new residential rental rebate form together with the 1 year lease. So you can do all the packages as if you are applying for the $24,000 back under the new residential rental rebate. Write a cover letter to CLA, explain to them your situation. You just realize that that's the case. I already have the lease. Hey, can you assign that new housing rebate to my new residential rental rebate? That's going to help you to fix the problem, to allow you to sleep at night. Now, the biggest problem is that typically when CLA does the audit, they don't do the audit immediately after closing. They do the audit probably around 2 years time, 2 years mark. And when you get the letter from CLA asking for the money back, you would have already missed the deadline to file to do any correction, because HST residential rental property rebate is only available to be claimed within 2 years after closing date. So that is something that you have to be mindful of. Now, second thing is about these two numbers here, because that's what they are focusing on. CRA is focusing on. They are focusing on collecting income tax and collecting GST and HST. And they talked about what they are focusing on. They are focusing on property flipping. Now, what do they consider property flipping? This is all from CRA's website. They are looking into professional contractors or renovators that buy and sell real estate at a profit, sometimes demolishing the entire property or renovating the property substantially. Now, they are also focusing on the middle investor. What they call the middle investor is that some people would buy pre-construction home and then sell it and flip it before it's closed. Or some people would do off-market deal and they buy the off-market deal and then they renovate it and then they sell it. Or they basically don't even close the property and assign it to someone else and make a profit on it. They're focusing on these people. And then the third person that they would be, the third group of people that they are focusing on is the individual renovator. They buy real estate, renovate it, and live in it for a short period of time, and thinking that because they live in the property, they don't ever need to pay taxes on the sale of the property. Well, I'm going to explain to you how all these come together. Now, we often believe that there is a way to, when we pay tax, all property sale is capital gain. Well, the reality is that's not true. Capital gain is, we always want it to be called capital gain because capital gain is only 50% taxable and income is 100% taxable. So, but it is not easy to decide whether your profit that you made from the transaction, the property that you sell, is considered income or capital gain. CRA typically look at a bunch of criteria that you see in front of you. The first one is the taxpayer's intention. Do you intend to flip it? How likely? What are the feasibility for you to carry on your intention? You may buy a piece of land and you are going to build. You may build a house on it, and what you plan to do, you claim that your intention is to build a house on it and then live there as your primary residence. Meanwhile, your financial situation basically doesn't allow you to do it. And then you turn around and sell the land for a profit, the piece of land for a profit. That basically is telling CRA that, hey, like there's no way that you are going to be able to carry out your stated intention. So the feasibility of the taxpayer's intention is not possible. They don't take your intention, your claim of your intention as seriously. They would look at the location, the zoning of the piece of real estate that you are acquiring and selling. How much work you have done to carry out for your intention as well. If you intend to flip it, then, or if you are intending to do long-term buy and hold, did you advertise to rent it out? Did you actually rent it out? So those are the effort that they are looking at. Evidence that the taxpayer's intention changed after the purchase of sale. If you change your intention, CRA could also say that the profit that you made from your sale of property would be considered income. Nature of the business, professional calling or trade of the taxpayers and associate. What it means is that what you do for a living. If you are a contractor, you are a realtor, you have insider knowledge in this real estate market, chances are the transaction would always be considered, would more be considered on the income account rather than capital gain. Extent to which borrow money. If you're using short-term money, short-term financing to finance the flip deal, and because you know that you're going to sell it in a short period of time, you don't want to secure the deal with an A lender. So these are the factors that people are looking into. CRA are looking into considering making the decision on whether you are doing a property sale as a business or a long-term investment. Long-term investment, the profit you make is capital gain. Short-term investment, doing it as a business, the profit that you make would be considered income. They also look at the length of your ownership, other partners who share interest in the real estate with you. If you have a joint venture partner and your joint venture is professional real estate investor, the deal would also be considered more on the income account than capital account. What are the factors that are motivating the sale of your property? Evidence that you are that your JV partner have in real estate. If you are a constant real estate investor, chances are your sale would be more considered as on income account versus on capital account. Now, example of typical deals that are treated as income: assignments, flips, land development, wholesale service, and rent to own as well. They're all considered income. 100% of the profit that you make. So if you buy a property for $400,000, put in $100,000 on renovation, and you sell it for $650,000, the $150,000 profit that you make is 100% taxable, not 50% taxable. And if you own that inside a corporation, it is only taxed at 12.2%. If you own it in personal name, it is subject to the marginal tax rate as high as 53.5% in Ontario. Now, I also want to point out that there are HST implications on assignment, flips, and land development and wholesale service as well. So these has to be taken into account. Example of capital gain: essentially a lot of capital investment or long-term buy and hold would be considered capital gain. That includes condos as well. That includes Airbnb as well. If you are operating in a long-term Airbnb, you are earning short-term rental income, but your investment horizon on this Airbnb property is still long-term buy and hold. So when you're reporting rental income from these properties for a long period of time, it is less likely for CRA to go after you on the sale of the property on the income account. Now, another thing that CRA mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, is that they are looking for speculator or middle investor. And who's speculator or middle investor? We mentioned earlier, it's wholesalers or pre-construction assignment deals. The people who sign up to buy the pre-construction condo, and before closing, they assign it to someone else. They never close the property at all. Those are the two types of investors that CRA are targeting. Now, wholesaling as a business, I have a few clients who does wholesaling deal or constantly looking for off-market deals. And what they do is that they would, I know knock on the door is probably not the right thing to do in during COVID time, but what wholesalers do is they do a lot of online advertising, just like Brady mentioned. Also, they do a lot of direct mailing to the individuals, to the houses as well. So when they secure a deal with the owner, sometimes they keep it for themselves, they renovate it, and then they sell it. Sometimes they don't think it's a fit or they don't have the capital to do it. Then they would find an investor that could be interesting in the property. And they would make money on the essentially price difference, the delta between the two, and make a wholesaling fee. The wholesaling fee, because you're not selling a property. Only residential property resale are HST exempt. So the wholesaling fee is actually subject to HST. And the profit that you make from the wholesaling fee is also 100% taxable. So those are what they are going after. They're going after the HST. They're also going after the income. Now, pre-construction assignment is super similar to wholesale fee. Essentially, instead of running around finding the deals, you just go to the builders and sign up to buy the pre-construction assignment and pre-construction homes. And over time, the property appreciated during the pre-construction period. You may or may not have the financial resources to close it, or you may never intend to close it close it to begin with. You are just flipping. So what CRA is going after is that they have in the last few years, maybe 5 years ago, they have reached an agreement with the builders directly. They have gone to the court to get a court order to force the builders to provide a list of units and a list of names that have essentially that are on the agreement of purchase and sale, initial agreement of purchase and sale. But the title, the closing title, the person who closed the property has a different name. they force the builder, they use a court order to force the builder to provide that list. If the agreement of purchase and sale, purchaser on the agreement of purchase and sale is different from the person, the name that's closed the property, the builder is obligated to provide that list to CRA. And what CRA does is that they essentially go after all of these people, because before the court order in the past, CRA had no reach to get that type of information. They don't even know who is doing these pre-construction assignments. So they, ever since that time, they have been successfully challenging these people who sell on assignment. Now, when they sell on assignment, CRA has also taken on a very aggressive stand that the assignment fees that you collected are subject to HST, even though you don't charge HST on top of it. So when you sell HST, make sure that you consider the HST implication on the assignment fees. Now, the aggressive position that CRA took is also, you can go online and see it yourself. CRA is taking the position that when you sell the assignment, remember, you might have already put some money down as a down payment for your pre-construction home to the builder. That deposit that you have paid to the builder, you get reimbursed by the new buyer. The new buyer would pay you, let's say $50,000 as the deposit, reimbursement of deposit, and then pay you another $100,000 as a pre-construction assignment fee. CRA has taken the position that the HST is also applicable on the $50,000 reimbursement of the deposit, even though the court has a court case going against that idea. So right now, CRA is really aggressive going after these assignment HST as well. So not just the profit is 100% taxable, no question. It's also the HST implication on it. And sometimes it could cost you thousands of dollars. And in a lot of cases, it's actually cheaper to keep the property, close the property, and then assuming that's your intention and you have the financial resources to do it, close the property and then rent it out for a year or two before you sell it. So those are what they are going after. There is also the unreported income on sale of the property. There's a myth that if I'm moving to the property for a period of time, then I can claim primary residence exemption and I do not need to pay tax on the sale of the property. Well, this is a myth. The reason being is that it also goes back to these criteria that we talk about, capital gain versus income. If you are doing a lot of these renovation and you're building your own home and you are moving into the property for 3 months and then you sell it to a third party, you are essentially operating as if you are owning a business. And so the profit that you make from it is considered income. If it is considered income, you do not qualify to claim primary residence exemption. And so therefore, we don't even need to look at whether you live in the property or not, whether you actually live, what's considered ordinary inhabited, not at all. All they would look at is, did you actually operate it as operating this transaction as a business? And that is what they are looking at. Now, for people who are and they also have since 2016, they require people to report as an information return on the information return that you're moving from one property to another. So it's a lot easier for them to now track down who has moved from one property to another and claiming primary residence exemption. So this is less and less popular these days, but it is still out there. Now, capital gain. If it is on the capital account, so your transaction is not considered on the income account, the profit that you make would be, the transaction that happened for your primary residence that you built, the sale of it, would be considered on the capital account. And then they would then look at, hey, did you actually own the property? And what is the ordinary, did you actually ordinarily inhabited by a taxpayer? Did you actually live in there and use it as your primary residence? Did you designate that property as your principal residence? Those are the factors that they are looking at. And then if you check all the boxes, the chances are you will be able to claim principal residence exemption on that property and no tax need to be paid. but you need to have all the strong documentation to prove that you are living there or you've lived there. Okay, last bit of my presentation, HST implication on substantially renovated property. Whether the substantial renovated property was used as a flip or you are building a new homes for sale or for rental purpose. Or even converting commercial property into residential property. When you substantially renovate a property, because a lot of my clients are doing renovation, sometimes we call them, or we're gutting the house from top to bottom. And sometimes you even see those terms on the listing, that everything is brand new, we gutted the house, we replaced everything. And when you see terms like that, as an accountant, when you see terms like that, it's always a red flag to see if the property has been substantially renovated. When the property is substantially renovated, it means that all or substantially all, which means over 90% of the existing building is removed or replaced. So it has to be removed or replaced to qualify for that substantial renovation, and you always want to stay below that 90%. What I mean is that if your property is considered substantially renovated, it means that when you sell the property as a flip, you are supposed to charge a HST. Your property is now considered a brand new home. And when it is a new home, it is a taxable supply. You are supposed to charge HST on the sale of a residential resale home. And no buyer out there is going to agree to pay that HST. So essentially, you have to account for the HST on the sale of the property as part of the purchase, as part of the sale price, which can substantially cut into your profit. In many cases that I've come across, a lot of the time, that HST impact would eat the entire profit that you are expecting to make when you are flipping the property. So those would be something that to pay attention to. You always want to stay below the 90% when it comes down to substantial renovation. Second thing that people are doing a lot is that you are building a new residential rental. To that, an example is building a new garden suite. Sometimes people are doing purpose-built residential rental multi-unit. I have clients who do that. I also have clients who convert commercial properties into residential properties. Now, when you do all these things, you are essentially providing rental supply in the market. Good for you. We need a lot of those. But unfortunately, when you are building all these brand new residential rental or garden suite or converting unused commercial space to residential use, you're also considered a builder in the eyes of CLA. When you are considered builder, all these are considered new residential housing supply. You need to pay HST on the fair market value of the rental when it is ready to move in. If, let's use an example, you buy a piece of land, you build 2 brand new rental in it, and now you are going to have to do a valuation on the fair market value of the rental at the time when it is ready to move in, and you have to evaluate the fair market value and then charge an HST. And then you are supposed to do a self-assessment and remit the HST to CLA. However, you can also offset the HST payable by claiming the HST you pay to build a new rental. And only the net HST amount is payable. So the delta between the HST on fair market value and HST payable by claiming the HST you pay to build a new rental, that delta is payable to CLA. Now, as a matter of fact, if you do everything correctly, you can also qualify for HST new residential rental rebate as well, with a 1-year lease. If you do everything smoothly, everything like you have the tenants move in. So yes, it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of tracking. You have to track these anyway. It's just that you have to track the HST separately. Typically, even with the new residential rental rebate, you're still bleeding a little bit when it comes down to building a new residential rental. Now, if you're converting from a commercial property to a residential property, then HST would also be applicable, even though you may not have done any substantial renovation. HST is still triggered. So it kind of, it sucks. But make sure that you have that included as part of your calculation, because CRA is going after a lot of these new residential rental providers. Now, building a new house to flip, you are considered a builder. I think I talked a little bit about it. Building a new house and then you flip it, you're considered a builder. You need to charge HST because you're building a brand new house from scratch. This is definitely brand new. You have to charge HST. You just like a builder, but you can also claim HST that you pay on bringing the trades in to build the property. And you can also claim HST residential property rebate, just like the builder, just like the one that I mentioned earlier, the sample calculation that I had. And only the net HST amount is payable to CLA, but you would still have a net HST amount payable to CLA. So you make sure that you factor into the consideration when it comes down to building a new house, doing development, land development, and building brand new house. The next topic is what other audit triggers? What are the comprehensive audit triggers that I've been seeing in the marketplace? Large amounts of rental losses reported in consecutive years. Sometimes people really wanted to take aggressive deduction, but the reality is our firm typically help our clients to structure their portfolio and also minimize the amounts of rental losses that they would be reporting. Sometimes it is well deserved to report as rental losses, but sometimes it's just essentially, even though I know that our clients right to claim the losses, but sometimes it's just not worth the fight because the cost of doing a CRA audit and going through a CRA audit is tremendous. And also you have to provide all types of receipts that you have, all types of documentation. Essentially, if you say that the repairs and maintenance amount is $20,000, you have to provide the breakdown of that $20,000 for that particular year. And then you also have to reference to the corresponding receipts of every single thing. That's just the start. And then CRA may say, well, we can't really do it because this one looks capital. And then you have to go back and forth to argue with them. Another example is that the way that we help one of our clients to claim. One of our clients actually got audited a number of years ago. And when he came on board with us, the previous accountant who had no experience in real estate taxes, she claimed a bunch of losses at the very beginning without reporting income. And that also caused a CRA auditor to select this file for audit. So these are what CRA is looking at when it comes down to finding the people who would be most likely non-compliance. They're trying to find the low-hanging fruit as well. So these are the reporting large amounts of rental losses in multiple years definitely would trigger audit. Selling multiple properties that you own under 1 year. 1 year is not really like an income tax act rule, but right now CRA is just focusing a lot on the low-hanging fruits. If you are selling, like you have sold 2 properties back to back or in a very short period of time, and you own them both under 1 year, they would use the second sale as the evidence that you are essentially conducting a business of flipping these properties. So then instead of reporting it as capital gain, they would say that you're operating a business and you should report them as income. Assignment deal, we talk about, assigning HST residential rental rebate without moving into the property. We talked about that. Another one is asking for HST refund. Always get audited. That's our own experience, our accounting firm experience. We almost have to defer a lot of these HST refund requests into future years just so that we don't get audited. Sometimes it's well deserved to claim it, but sometimes it's just not worth it. Sometimes it's only a couple $100 refund that we're asking. The cost to go through that audit is way higher than getting the couple $100 of refund. Not reporting any capital gain on sale of property, not reporting it at all would also trigger an audit. Reported income does not match your lifestyle or asset owned. this is when it comes down to you are living in a large home, a multi-million-dollar home, you're driving a nice car, but you're reporting $20,000, sometimes no income altogether. If CRA sees that, then they know that you have unreported income. They use the fair market value. They use the purchase price of your property and how much you have put into the property and all your assets, and then essentially back calculate the amount of income you did not report. So these are the factors that CRA are currently looking at. Now, that basically concluded my presentation. I hope if you want a copy of my book, realestatetextips.ca/ONREIA, if you have any questions, I think this would be a perfect time to ask the question.
Fantastic. Thank you, Cherry. And I just want to put in the chat, or maybe you could put in the chat the link. Someone was asking for the link for the book. I know you just said it, but could you type it out so we see it there?
Oh, here.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I'm going to put it in the chat so we don't lose track of it. Real estate tax tips.ca/ONREIA. Thank you so much for gifting our community that your book. It's we've had a couple people say how great a book it is here in the comments. So that's fantastic. Thank you for that.
No
I do have some questions here. So we have someone anonymous saying, if I get interim occupancy in March of 2022 and full occupancy in October of 2022, but have a 1-year lease from March 22 to March 23, does the CRA count the lease from March or October? When would I need to provide provide a lease from October 22 to March of 23? Does that make sense?
I guess the lease was signed with the with the occupancy before closing. And I would still submit the application because the cost to submit that application is not expensive. That's what I would do. I don't think it should be an issue. I personally have not helped any of my clients going through that situation. Maybe we had for a couple of times. I don't remember the detail. I think we were always successful in terms of getting the rebate back.
Awesome. Okay. And I'm not sure if this is the same person or a different anonymous person. Does buying in your personal name and closing in a corp qualify as an assignment?
If you use the term assignment, then it's likely an assignment. So you're running into the risk that CRA could come back to you and call it an assignment deal, because you can choose to assign it, or you can add closing, you can use an amendment. So depending on your particular situation and the lawyer that you work with, if you're working with lawyers that are more experienced, then they would be able to direct you accordingly. If you call it an assignment, because even though your original intention was always to set up to buy it in the corporation's name, it's better that you make the change on your agreement of purchase and sale, and then also make the closing directly, not using the assignment clause. Try not to use it.
Okay, and a second part to their question, is there a cap to qualify for the federal rebate? They seem to think it's $500,000.
The cap is $450,000. So essentially, there's, I believe, $6,300 or $6,700. I don't remember off the top now. That is the federal amount, and you can claim that in full, basically for a house that's at less than $350,000. Any new purchase that's that has a price tag between $350,000 and $450,000, that amount, the federal rebate amount, is going to go down all the way to zero. And that is really the reason why BC has very few audit or few amounts being recovered as compared to Ontario, because Ontario, the $24,000 that I mentioned, it is the provincial portion of the rebate. That is always available. There's no elimination, there's no price tag attached to it.
Cool. Okay, and one more question I see here. Andrea's asking, can you claim CCA for prior years if you didn't claim it before?
You don't need to. Like, I would not, for claiming CCA, because CCA is a tax deferral. It's not a tax deduction. I would not go back to my prior year, my prior year tax return just so that I can claim CCA. The tax is already paid. Like, you can do it 100%. You just need to amend prior year tax return. But what's the point? If you amend last year's return, you may also get audited.
Okay, so here's another thing. Conversely, if you claimed CCA, can you refile to undo it?
You can also undo it, but you may also run into the risk that they may not allow it, depending on why you're trying to undo it. You cannot do some retroactive tax planning. There are people that are trying to do retroactive tax planning by undoing it. So
all right,
it gets complicated. You can, but then you run into the risk of certain things as well.
Okay, all right. We have another question here. It's a little bit lengthy. If the real estate agent rebates his or her commission to the buyer, is this money taxable on the hand of the real estate agent or the buyer, or none of them? So they're just saying, I hear people receiving CRB have to pay.
What is CRB?
Oh, maybe she meant CERB, like CERB. I'm not sure. Have to pay 100% of the money received if they earn over 38,000. If yes, it's not fair as these people did not have a job. So I think she meant CERB, like CERB.
Okay. So 2 questions. The first part of the question, the real estate agent rebates his or her commission to the buyer. It would be a deduction in the real estate agent's tax return. Whether or not the amount is taxable, depending on the type of properties that you're buying and that rebate is related to. If the buyer or the seller is doing it as part, if the rebate is triggered based on the sale or purchase of primary residence, then it's not taxable on the hand of the person who's selling or buying. But then if it is related to a rental property, then it is being, I would treat it as a reduction of your purchase price. It is taxable, but you don't really pay immediate tax. But if it is purchased as a flip, then it is again part of the cost as well. So you part of your income. So you would have to report it. The second part of the question is that I hear people receiving CERB have to pay 100% of the money back. I haven't followed CERB for a long time, so honestly, I don't really know the answer to it.
Okay.
And to be honest, even if they do, I can't say that it is unfair or fair because there's nothing I can do. I'm not a spokesperson for CLA.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, once again, Cherry, so much great information that you've shared tonight. And I mean, I don't know how you keep it all so straight. The whole tax stuff, I don't know, it's a little overwhelming for me. Let me see here. You went a little bit blurry. Oh,
yeah, probably because my internet connection. As it gets later, it gets worse because everyone.
Oh no. Okay. All right. Well, then it's a good thing we're coming up to the end. Thank you so much, Cherry, for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. And everyone, are you taking on new clients or if people are? Okay, fantastic. So if you have more questions for Cherry or you want to be maybe hiring her on and her team to help you with your accounting, she is one of the best of the best. So make sure you connect with her. Thank you so much, Cherry. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Cherry.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, it is another ONREIA wrap up here. We are at 8:45, so another full evening. Yeah. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. We had another great turnout. And if you missed part of tonight or you're watching the replay, we will have this on our ONREIA YouTube channel. So you can check it out there. We'll probably upload it early next week. And anything else for you?
No, just on my behalf, thanks again for tuning in and for always tuning in each month that we do this. we appreciate you coming to each session, even though we can't do it in person. It's nice to interact as much as we can over Zoom. And yeah, just thank you, and everybody have a good night.
All right. Take care, everyone. Good night.